This episode of The Game Factor is brought to you by Two Nerds on a Couch. Hi, and welcome to The Game Factor. I'm your host, David Burns. Well, E3 has come and gone, and it's time to get back to business as usual. So let's start off as we always do, with some fresh, hot new trailers. So the first trailer is for a game that'll have you strapping a vacuum to your back and pretending you're a Ghostbuster. I'm talking about Luigi's Mansion 2. Luigi's Mansion 2 was a surprise announcement by Nintendo at this year's E3. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the series, but I do give credit where credit is due. So for that, I'm going to give Luigi's Mansion 2 an impulse buy for those 3DS owners out there. Now, for our last trailer for you is a game that really needs no introduction. So, roll the trailer.
Deep in the ocean, dead and cast away, marine senses burn in flames. A million miles from home, I'm walking ahead. I'm frozen to the bones. I am a soldier on my own. I don't know the way. I'm riding up the heights of shame. I'm waiting for the call, the hand on the chest. I'm ready for the fight and fate. Sound of iron shots stuck in my head. The thunder of the drums dictates the rhythm of the falls, the number of days, the rising of the horns ahead. From the dawn of time to the end of days, I will have to run away. I want to feel the pain and the bitter taste of the blood on my lips again. Snow is burning my hands. I'm frozen to the bones. I am a million miles from home. I'm walking away. I can't remind your eyes, your face.
The Assassin's Creed games are probably one of my favorite series on the current generation of systems, and I cannot wait for this final conclusion to Ezio and Altair's story. So, we're definitely giving Assassin's Creed Revelations a pre-order status, day one buy, otherwise Ezio, Altair, Desmond gonna come up behind you and put a hidden knife right in your back.
Strange at Palo Alto is the bongo board, kind of a sawed-off seesaw for one Marjorie Daw at a time. It's easy enough to see how it works, but it's quite a trick to make it work.
We've got bead sprites. See something you like? Want something else? Contact Two Nerds on a Couch. Find us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. And remember to believe in the beads that believe in you.
And now for this week's play review share of Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Dracula's castle has suddenly appeared, and it's up to a stalwart hero to defeat Castlevania's host and save the day.
Now the game sounds like a typical platformer with the attacking and jumping from one place to another, but it features RPG elements.
This is the first game that ever used the model of what is now known as Metroidvania. You basically take the free-running, free-flowing, free movement, free gameplay of a Metroid game, and you take something of an epic storytelling like Castlevania, like the Castlevania mythos, and plug them together.
He learns how to transform into a wolf, as well as transform into a bat, as well as transform into mist.
Even if you aren't one of the lucky players who can find some of the fairly powerful items, you can always buy them with a great library.
Like, one thing most people don't know is they see the rusty sword and think it's not good for anything, but it's quite effective against the doppelganger boss.
The castle is huge, so big that it's easy to get lost. Why do you have to throw food on the ground and then eat it off the ground? Who would do such a thing? And when you get hit, you get knocked back a few feet. So if you're next to a door and you get hit and knocked out of the room, you have to go back into the room, and of course the enemies have respawned.
The only real problem I have is the sound.
Music was beautiful.
The music for this game sets a cool but eerie feel to it. It fits perfectly with the game.
So anyway, the first thing I'm going to talk about is the music, because this is my favorite track of all time.
The music in the game was some of the best out of the PlayStation's entire catalog.
I love the soundtrack to it.
It's just a wonder to listen to it. It's joy for the ears. It is auditory porn, is what it is.
Voice work was a little spotty.
What is a man? A miserable little pile of secrets!
People talk a bunch of crap about the voice acting, but I really like the voice acting.
I dislike most of the voice acting, except for maybe Alucard.
It was like the voice acting was cheesy, but it worked.
Now, another of the things that I really loved about the game was the time and effort they put into the graphics.
The graphics are very good.
The graphics for its time, it was really good, actually. I especially loved the little trails that they did behind Alucard as you ran around.
The graphics, for being a 2D game, are rather remarkable. There are pleasant backgrounds, beautiful animations, and hundreds of different monsters.
From the backgrounds, to the effects, to the monsters that you fight, they put a lot of time and detail into this game.
The gameplay is very good.
Now, one thing I liked about this game that kept me coming back to it was the combat and weapon system.
Certain spell and special weapon effects really looked impressive, and the system allowed for some pretty epic boss battles.
The magic is really cool in the game because, really, it's unlocked from the beginning. All you have to do is have enough mana and know the button combination.
When I finally picked it up and started playing it, I was almost instantaneously hooked, and loved to play it for hours on end.
Another of the things I enjoyed about the game was that it had multiple endings.
If you haven't played Castlevania Symphony of the Night, shame on you. Overall, this game is a must-have.
So overall, if I had to give Castlevania Symphony of the Night a rating, I would give it a 9.5 out of a 10.
If you have Xbox 360, if you have a PlayStation 3, go download it off of Xbox Live Arcade or PlayStation Network. If you like classic games, download this. You will not be disappointed.
Well, since E3, gaming news has been blowing up like a Michael Bay film. Now, speaking of films, Disney is making a new movie called Wreck-It Ralph, where the premise is essentially Tron meets Toy Story inside of an arcade. Now, in other rental news, Redbox will soon be carrying video games. Now, these video games will cost you $2 per night per rental, and that seems a little excessive when you can get GameFly for much cheaper. Now, in full-on game news, everyone's been talking about the PlayStation Network and it being hacked and all that other stuff and it's evil, whatnot. Well, they're not the only ones that have been hacked. 4 major companies in the gaming industry have also been hacked by a group called LulzSec. Those include Codemasters, which do the Dirt series, Bethesda, who does the Elder Scrolls games, Eidos, of Tomb Raider fame, and Nintendo. If you don't know what Nintendo's done in the past 20 years, then you're not really a gamer. In other hacking news, Spanish police have recently arrested 3 people believed to be part of the PlayStation Network attacks. Now, funny enough, after their arrest, Anonymous, the people behind the PlayStation Network attacks, hacked the Spanish police website in retaliation to these arrests. And finally in news, we have some new information about Nintendo's new system, the Wii U. Now, sadly, it will only support 1 controller at release. Now, they say it is possible for it to support multiple controllers, but it won't at launch. Now, another thing about this controller is that it won't be sold separately. So if for some reason something happens to it, like say you step on it or a kid jabs a stylus through it, anything like that, you won't be able to purchase another one. Unless you contact Nintendo and beg and plead them for one, they might sell you one. We don't know. Nintendo's being very hush-hush on this. Now, next is about the multiple controller support. Nintendo went on record saying that the possible 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, whatever many controllers that a game might support, you'll have to use a 3DS. Now, they're saying that they don't want to sell extra controllers because it might cost too much money for multiple controller support. So instead, you have to buy a $250 handheld to work as a controller. I don't see that as not costing too much. I don't know. What do you think? So out this week, we have Cars 2, Gods and Heroes, Rome Rising, which sounds better than Rome Falling. Dungeon Siege 3 brings hack and slash to your console. Pets Fantasy, oh my god, yet another Pets game. Arma 2, Reinforcements. I didn't know there was an Arma 1. Shadows of the Damned, another game from Suda51. And finally, Fear 3. Are you afraid yet? Because this is the 3rd one. You should be afraid now.
Do you like sci-fi, fantasy, video games, and/or anime? Then you need to be at GlitchCon 2011, September 9th through 11, being held in Bentonville, Arkansas, at the Doubletree Hotel, with guests like Marina Sirtis, Deanna Troi from Star Trek The Next Generation, Ethan Phillips, Neelix from Star Trek Voyager, Peter Pixie, Grandmaster of Ceremonies, or the voice actor of Final Fantasy XIII Snow, Troy Baker, and steampunk group Airship Isabella. So remember, GlitchCon 2011, September 9th through 11, Bentonville, Arkansas, Doubletree Hotel. Be there!
Well, hello, boy. Now, what do you say?
Let's make with the popcorn right away.
Well, that's all we got for you this week, but don't worry, we'll be back with more next week. But until then, don't forget to follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. So until next week, game over. Assassins, come out and play. No, nice is a 4-letter word. I know what I'm saying, but I'm saying it, but then this thought process in my head and to my mouth is going, hey, I'm going to take a right turn at Albuquerque, and the mouth's going, I'm taking a left turn, and we'll meet in Albuquerque in 3 weeks. Hacky sack. Dungeon Siege 3 brings hacky sack back to the world. This wraps up. And I was like, oh god, surprise!